There's a lot of promise around AI and automation in general, but in this video I would like to encourage you to think about your business as a series of systems that you can choose to automate or not automate. I'm just going to present you with examples and methods that I've devised or systems that I've created in the past, just to show you what is possible. But I think that it is extremely important to know that a large portion of what is currently being done can be automated, and a large portion that is currently being done should not be automated, simply because of the stakes involved in it. So this video is just an overarching guide to that. All right, first things first, why are most businesses slow? So every single time that you do a task manually, you lose time that you could have spent on doing actual meaningful work for the growth of your business, the actual tasks that compound over time and not just are a series of tasks that you have to complete just because you need to keep the business running every single week. The easiest way out of the problem is obviously to hire people instead of building systems that scale. But the issue with that is obviously not only do you start spending ridiculous amounts in overhead, but it just adds work that neither you or your team should be doing in the first place. And I'm sure you've already looked into automations and systems building itself. But I think that from my perspective, from a developer's perspective, there's 3 reasons why most automations fail. And I have to admit, I've also been a part of these reasons myself when I was building out initially. So first of all, you automate at a loss, which means you're automating processes that should not be automated. Just because it is AI, or just because AI can achieve this task that you've set out to not do, just because AI is capable of doing that task doesn't mean that it should. The important thing to realize is that we're still solving business problems. You should work down the list of what has the most priority for me at this current stage. The second reason is just making the setup far too complicated. The more simple a system is, the better. And if it does go wrong, then it stops the entire operation. So that's not something that you want to rely on. And the third thing is that people try to automate everything at once. Because the promise is so large, as said, there is such a rush to get through a bunch of automations or get through a bunch of system build-outs and realize that half of them are useless anyways. So you get little progress done this way, and it is a lot easier to just go step by step and sort by the highest ROI first. So there is a lot that would fall under the category of someone saying, I would like to automate my business. And there's a lot of solutions to choose from. There's a very simple way to get started. That's just to map out everything that's going on, right? So you categorize, usually the 2 categories that I care about is acquiring customers and retaining customers. If those 2 things are solid, then in general, you have a very good business. We can categorize things like ads, organic content, and lead acquisition under lead generation, which would be things like market analysis, competitor analysis, making split tests for different angles, media design, ideation, scripting, filming, website email campaigns, follow-ups, responding to prospects. All of these things will help you gain more customers, and these are already things that you are doing in the first place. And on the service side of things, we have actually bringing in prospects, so going from being a prospect to being a paying client, which is mostly done through an onboarding procedure, and then the actual delivery part itself, which is where your expertise comes in. And I've actually chosen a few of these areas in order to develop and to build systems for. The first one is copywriting. It is basically what you display to your prospective customers, and this is only possible if you do it correctly, so with good prompting and a solid context profile. And then you can detach yourself from that and take on a role of an operator or someone who just validates these outputs and just approve or disapprove the copy that has been written by AI. This is an example from a video that I made earlier, which is copywriting for short form scripts. This is just defining the core message. If you would like to have the piece of content run for conversion instead of virality, or if you just want to position yourself as an authority figure. It's the same exact thing where you define what you want the piece of text to do. And this can be done through a prompting framework, which I have here. So first you want to define a role, which is you are an expert in copywriting, in writing ads for real estate firms or writing ads for restaurants. And you also want to provide some context about the problem that you are trying to solve with your business, with some information about your target audience and their goals. The instruction would just write 100 words or 45 seconds of spoken delivery, give it some examples as to what has worked best for you in the past. That way it can analyze this winning copy and actually replicate that style and move forward with what it is that you've actually created yourself. Or next we move on to creative designing. This is also another thing that I see is people spending large amounts of money on designing basic assets that by now can be very easily done with OpenAI's new 4.0 model. It can handle most things like the style that you wanted, so if you want an animated or infographic or photorealistic. The reason people don't get the output that they want is because they don't give it enough context. For branding, it's very simple. You can just provide not only examples of what has worked in the past for you, but also just the tone that you wanted in, the colors that you want to use, the characteristic style that you want that is very unique to your brand, and all the other branding that you have on your website or on your content pages. So you can format all of that in a JSON formatted profile, and I actually have a video on this as well. I took this from a video that I made last time, but this is what a brand profile would look like. And you can see here that the visual imagery style is something that is very important when you're defining the characteristic image that you should generate. And this is just a form of code that will make it very easy for the AI to replicate what it is that you want. The next one is any replying to prospects that you do that require you to repeat information over time and just treat every prospect the same way. This goes for cold emails, your contact inbox, support, or just frequently asked questions that you get. Instead of hiring out for these positions, you can let AI do most of the work for you. And the way it works is you have a simple automation that receives a support ticket mail, let's say, or a question, and the answer to that question can be in a PDF or in a context profile. And whenever you receive a support ticket, the AI references to that knowledge base, creates a reply, and then sends off or drafts the email, depending on your preference. This will just greatly reduce the amount of time that you have to spend on prospects that will not necessarily convert. So as said, this is very good for low priority requests or automatic mails that you are already sending in the first place. And to go a step further, you can also add things like sorters. So it will tag emails correctly and filter out any spam. And you can also go a step further and assign a model just to analyze the requests that you get in. So what are the common requests, any pain points, and any sort of objections that people have? What are the most common ones? And then shift your offer according to that. So this is very valuable when you do it correctly. Next one is bringing prospects on and signing them on as paying customers. A basic workflow for any online business that involves collecting client documents, collecting payment invoices, sending over some questionnaire forms, and also getting set up on communication channels, and then moving that information or moving that customer into a different section of the CRM. AI can very easily replace this, and the workflow looks very similar to this. You can build this out in N8N or Make, and you can send them a personal welcome email based on what it is that they have filled out. Send them an invoice, send them a contract as well. This can also be filled out by AI, and then log and update a CRM. Another system that you can think about is and this also goes really well with the copywriting that we had before, is just how to ideate your content and how to frame your content the right way. You can create a system that uses industry trends to give you insights and ideas on what to speak about or what to write about in your YouTube videos, in your LinkedIn posts, in your school posts as well. And this will just really help you streamline that process. And I know this as well. As a creator, it is extremely difficult to come up with targeted ideas for your profiles. And this is one of the automations that I have built to help me do that. This automation will run once a day or once a week, depending on your window. And then it goes ahead and scans different platforms. For example, here I have LinkedIn, Reddit, and Twitter. And it feeds that data into the LLM and uses it to generate pieces either for conversion or for virality. And then to take that a step further, you can have another Claude step or a GPT completion step to that Google Sheet to scan that sheet and write the copy for you. So, and then using the steps that we talked about in the copywriting section. And lastly, when it comes to delivery, this is not something that I can just say in a video like this, but what I can do is just leave you with a few pointers as to, from what I've seen works best. Because every industry is so different, you can have people that prefer to do everything themselves, or on the other hand, you also have people that are very keen on automating these tasks and their daily workflows as much as possible. But as I said before, just because you can hand off these parts to AI doesn't mean that you should. So I can go over a few things that I would stay clear of when it comes to automation, that I would try to automate partially, so still have a human in the loop verifying these things, and also just things that very clearly I can hand off to AI with 100% reassurance that the job will be done either to my level or even better. Anything that requires your direct presence, for example, one-on-one consulting or direct selling to customers. Obviously, those are things that should not and cannot be taken over. I would look at partially automating editing, copywriting, ad stuff, just writing in general, and also things like visual assets, so thumbnails, websites, UX elements if you're doing SaaS. All of those things can very easily be assisted by AI. And then there's also things like analyzing your backend data, so everything that you get from reporting, from user trends, all of that can be compiled and analyzed by AI very effectively. Lead qualification, that includes lead scoring, so assigning points based on how promising a prospect is. Deep research, carrying out research of your buyers using very sophisticated profiles. These are all things that AI can and should do better than humans can. So I would very comfortably assign that to AI. One of the things that I want to leave you with is the frame of thinking where you look at systems that, like a dial, like you can turn it from manual to completely automated, and somewhere in the middle is like validation, verification, and it's really good to identify where each of these systems lie, where your current operations lie on that scale, and also where you would like them to actually be. So, and that gap between your current state and your ideal state is where all of these systems lie and all of these automations come into play. And it's just a matter of finding which ones are the most meaningful to your business and the growth and the longevity of your business. There will be a link below where you can get in touch with me, and in any case, I hope you find some value out of this.